Narayan Narayan everyone and happy Ganesh Chaturthi.
Because the frame is better and the light is
Kavita, that last word is savarchasam. Savarchasam.
Savarchasam.
Savarchasam. You said something slightly different. So chapter 15, last class for chapter 15. Okay. Someone who wants to do the summary? Quick summary, whatever you want to do. The last class.
Yeah, I can do that. The 15.14 was talking about the
power of digestion. So he acts as a digestive power. Any inhalation, exhalation, or anything that how we can correlate with the real-time scenario is like a VVGP. Anything that is being given as a VVGP for us to digest, ingest the habits that is given by the God. That's the way we can consume it. And Lord is the root of all the knowledge. That's the 15.15. So anything that is happening, any information that we are gathering is around it is coming directly from the Lord. And the 15:16 kind of talking about perishable and imperishable. Kutastha, the entities, and Purusha. Even for Purusha, there was an explanation. It's a living in the city of seven gates. So that was the explanation that was given for Purusha. Even in Purusha, there were a couple of breakdown that was given. One is Shara Purusha, which is perishable, and another one is Akshara Purusha, which is imperishable. So those are the items that we have touched upon in also.
Beautiful. Very, very nice. Correct. So Kshara Purush and Akshar Purush is the same as Kshetra and Kshetragya in chapter 30. Right? So we will take it from there, where Bhagwanji talks about how how he is going to talk about how the very supreme entity is different from these two as well. Okay, so he's going a little bit deeper than the Kshetra and the Kshetragya, as we had understood. Kshetra and Kshetragya is Kshetra. Kshetra is everything that's material, the physical, the Maya. Right? The Maya, which is ruled by not just physical, when I say physical, basically material world, right? Now it could be gross or it could be subtle, right? It could be the gross body, it could be the subtle body. But still, it is everything that is under the influence of the three gunas is the kshetra. Okay. And then we have the Jivatma inside of it, which was the kshetragya. Jivatma is a component of, is a part of Paramatma. And hence it has all the properties of Paramatma, just because it's all a hologram. Right? Every part of hologram is complete in itself and has all the properties of the whole. So similarly, Paramatma, Jivatma, being part of Paramatma, has all the properties of the whole. Kutastha, we understood why or what is Kutastha and in what context it is used as well. So let's go ahead. Leonard, do you want to read with us?
Number 15 and 16.
16, 17.
Connection
16.
between.
This chapter begins with the description of the world in the shape of a tree, symbolizing ignorance. Thereafter, the Lord explained
Yeah.
how it could.
I might be on the wrong chapter.
Yeah, 15.16.
Oh, sorry.
The next.
Oh,
Now the Lord introduces the concept of supreme entity, which is quite distinct from the superior to these entities.
Uttama Purushasta.
Uttamaha Purushasva
Uttama Purushastavanyah.
Uttamaha Purushastavanyah
Paramatmetyudahritah.
Paramatmetyudharitah
Yo lokatrayamavishya.
Yo lokatrayamavishya
Vibhartyavyaya Ishvaraha.
Vibhartyavya Ishwaraha. Both superior, but superior to both of them is another entity called the Supreme Self. Pervading the three worlds, that imperishable God sustains them. The transcendental self, the entity which is superior to both these Purushas, is the one called the Supreme God. He transcends the perishable physical forms and is the inner self of all beings. The three worlds mentioned in this shloka are not merely geographical, but have a wider significance inclusive of the geographical aspect. They are Bhu, Bhuvan, Bhuvaha, and Swaha. Bhu corresponds to the earth, Bhuvaha to the intermediary space, and Swaha to stellar space. They also indicate the gross, the subtle, and the causal entities respectively. In a living being, they indicate the waking state, the dream state, and the state of deep sleep, respectively. The Supreme God pervades all the above worlds and sustains them with his power.
So basically, here we are talking about Paramatma. So what Bhagwan Ji is telling us कि यार एक तो क्षेत्र है, एक क्षेत्रज्ञ है, which we've already read about, right? So and the same thing has been referred to as Kshar Purush and the Akshar Purush. Kshar Purush, anything that is Kshar, that can be destroyed. So now why is it being called Purush? Right? Purush means that which inhabits, right? Inhabits the Puri of 7 gates. Why is it been called Kshar Purush? It's been called Kshar Purush because this is also the Maya. This is Maya. But Maya is what? Maya is also Bhagwanji only. Correct? Maya is not separate from Bhagwanji. Maya is also Bhagwanji. That is what is being emphasized when you are calling this Kshar Purush. It is not distinct from Bhagwanji. So you shouldn't just think about, okay, ek kshetra hai, ek kshetragya hai. Kshetragya is very important. It is something that I need to do puja of. Kshetra bekar hai. ऐसा नहीं है. That's why in this one he has clearly stated there is Kshara Purush and there is Akshara Purush. This Kshara Purush, which is transient, which is transient, which is ever changing, which is Maya, which is ruled by the three gunas, is still a part of Bhagwanji. It is also Bhagwanji. So whatever you see in this world is as reverential as Bhagwanji himself. Which means that you need to, your Bhagwanji sits not just in a temple. He sits everywhere around us. We are living in his temple. Right? So everything around us is to be revered and to be treated and to be talked to and to be behaved with, just like we would behave with Bhagwanji. तो चाहे अब हमें चीज पसंद आ रही हो या ना पसंद आ रही हो. Right? So everything is part of Bhagwanji. This is Kshara Purush. That's why it's been called Kshara Purush. Right? So now we're getting to a level higher to understand this. So he's emphasizing that part. Then there is Akshar Purush. Akshar Purush is the Jivatma inside of us, the Kshetragya. One who knows, one who witnesses, one who sees, one who powers this body, both the gross and the subtle body. Okay? Then he says there is an entity that is supreme to this as well. Both these. That is the Paramatma. Paramatma, what are the characteristics of Paramatma now he's saying? He's saying this Paramatma transcends all physical forms. And he is the inner self of all beings. He is that transcendental aspect from which all Jivatmas derive themselves. Okay? And he permeates all three worlds. Now these three worlds are, the concept of three is there in a lot of things in our culture, right? That there are three trinities. There is a creator, there is a sustainer, there is a destroyer. There are three gunas, there are three loks, right? Bhur, Bhuva, Swaha. So Bhur, Bhuva, Swaha he is referring to is like it includes anything and everything you can think about. The Bhulok, the Patal Lok, the Swarg Lok, basically the three realms. It includes everything. There is nothing that he does not permeate. There is nothing that is outside of him. So he permeates everything. Okay. Then he talks about this, that, other three things. This is the waking state, the dream state, and the state of deep sleep, right? So this is, he's basically, and everything in this world is, it is powered by Bhagwan, that Paramatma. That is what is being told here. So there are three parts, but they are all with the top one permeating everything, and then there is Jivatma that derives all the energy and has all the properties of Paramatma. तो जब हम स्वाध्याय कर रहे हैं, हम कह रहे हैं कि I am going to go and find my Jivatma. I am going to go and find my soul, right? Now, what is this little difference between when we are saying that Jivatma has all the properties of Paramatma? So Jivatma, why do I have to go and find myself? Who am I? I am Jivatma only, no? I am Jivatma. I am not this body. Then why do I say I have to go and find him? And if Paramatma is inside of me, then why am I not? Why do I not feel like Paramatma? Why do I feel like this body all the time? Why do I behave like the body all the time? I behave like a body, no? All the time, mine and yours, mine and yours. This is me, this is mine, and that is you, that is yours. I've always created these separation boundaries. Why is that the case? Because the small difference between Jivatma and Paramatma is that the Jivatma has agreed to come under the influence of the gunas. Okay, step back, step back. It hasn't come under the influence of gunas. It has decided to avail the three gunas. Decided to avail the three gunas, and through the three gunas, it is availing the subtle body. It attracts the subtle body. The mind, the intellect, the ego, the chitta, it attracts itself to it. It binds itself to that subtle body. And then that subtle body takes the form of a physical body, an appropriate physical body. Okay? And because he binds himself to this, now what happens is that the moment Jivatma binds itself to this, depending on the habits, the whatever habits are stored, the memories are stored in your chitta, right? Whatever habits are formed by your intellect and your mind, depending on how free the mind is or how disciplined the mind is under the influence of intellect or not, right? Depending on that, this Jivatma, as soon as it, like, all of this is Maya, right? Maya is powerful. It avails itself of this Maya. Now, whether it can control this Maya or whether it is under the influence of Maya now depends on the quality of the subtle body that it has attracted to itself. Right? So if this subtle body is like an unruly child who's like constantly throwing a tantrum and going after its likes and dislikes, then this Jivatma will come under the influence of it. It's like a parent who's constantly saying yes to his children just so that they don't start crying. Right? And so this Jivatma now in this state becomes the experiencer of all the sansar through this apparent union of Kshetra and Kshetragya. And this apparent union we read was through what? The three gunas. They created this confusion, right? So now Jivatma becomes the experiencer. Paramatma is not the experiencer. Paramatma is not bound by the consequences of any actions because he's above the three gunas. He sits above the three gunas. So no actions accrue to him. He does not get bound by any actions, consequences, none of that stuff. But the Jivatma is bound to this, and hence he becomes the experiencer of the world. He becomes experiencer of the actions. He becomes experiencer. The ego starts to think, I am the doer of the actions. And the moment you say, I am doing it, then you come into the space of I deserve or I don't deserve. And then you start to work towards. So you will reap this. Jivatma then starts to get bound by the consequences of the actions. Get it? So Jivatma gets bound by the consequences of the actions. And once through this apparent union, it assumes the body of the subtle body. It assumes the identity of the subtle body. So becomes the doer. so becomes the experiencer, and now is bound by the nature's laws. You do something, there is a action has a reaction. Action has a fruit. You sow a seed, you will eventually get a fruit. You go into that cycle. That is what happens to Jivatma. And that is why, that is the difference. This Jivatma, when it is able to create a discipline and is able to exert the right hierarchy, intellect sits on top of and directs the mind, which sits on top of and directs the senses. Until Jivatma achieves this level of discipline, until then, he will not be able to free itself from this apparent union because he will constantly be dictated by the mind and the senses. So it will constantly keep getting strayed, keep going straight.
So let me rephrase this a little in a way I understand, right? We all know we have body, and we know the body is perishable. We all know we also have a part of us that is imperishable, the observer, the witness, the director, the actor, correct? We all have that experience, which is why we sit in this class. And that is the Jivatma. What Bhagwanji is saying, and he was reminding us, and he said this in chapter 9 as well, right? Ekoham Bhav Swami, right? He has given all of us the opportunity to come in human form or come onto this planet with a part of him. And he's reminding us that we are all connected to one mothership who runs everything. He's pervaded everywhere. So just like chapter 9, we have to see him everywhere. Right? And the only way you see him everywhere, the only way you know this to be true is from moving from gross to subtle. In every action, it's always moving gross to subtle. The subtler you are, the closer you are to Bhagwan, experiencing Bhagwan. And that is true for, take Gita, the book. This is just book written on paper, printed, right? Does it have any power? No. How does it get power? When it gets converted into thoughts. Thought is more subtle than book, right? It is the thought that brings power to everything that is we read in the book. And what is subtler than thought is this our experience of that when we practice it. And once you experience something, it becomes your being. And that is even more subtle. Right? So everywhere there are layers that we need to go deeper into to find the subtlest form, and that's where we will be closest to the God. Because that being, like that thought is there. We've read this enough number of times. Without his grace, we cannot implement Bhagwan, we will not be able to implement Gita. It's his grace that allows us to open up beyond, like Tuvina said, to rise above our animality. Right? So that's where he lies. And that's where he lies in all of our actions and all of our experiences of the world.
From a theory point of view, for you to understand what is the difference between Paramatma and Jivatma, and what is that supreme entity, how is he different from that Kshetragya, is that Paramatma, if there's one thing that you should just like take away, that Paramatma is not bound by the consequences of any actions. But Jivatma is always bound by the consequences of their actions. But here's one more thing, that this Jivatma, because it has all the powers of Paramatma, this, when we call this Purush, right? Kshara Purush, Akshar Purush. This Purush has the most important element of the Paramatma that is part of us as human beings is what we call Purush. The concept of Purush does not exist when we are born in the Bhogyonis, whether the happy type of Bhogyonis where we are experiencing pleasure, or whether it is the the lower forms of Bhog Yoni where we are experiencing the pain. It doesn't matter, but Bhog Yonis, either way, Dev ho, chahe koi bhi ho, Gandharv ho, chahe they are Sarp, they are whatever, right? Animals or whatever. None of them have Parush. The Bhog, the Yog Yoni, the only Yog Yoni in this world is that of human beings. We have Parush. Parush is nothing but willpower, free will. The free will that Bhagwanji has given to Jivatma to decide whether what type of actions it does. It has the choice of making of doing certain types of actions, and that choice, and when I say action, it all starts from our thought. So we have the choice. We don't have a choice on what type of thoughts come to us, right? Those thoughts are really dictated by the environment. You sit in a pub, there are different types of thoughts that will come to you. You sit in a mandir, different types of thoughts will come to you. You sit on top of a mountain, different types of thoughts will come to you. You sit on a beachside, different types of thoughts will come to you. You sit in different type of with different, you surround yourself with different types of people, you will realize that there are different thoughts that are coming, right? So you don't have a choice over thoughts that come to you. Your choice is over what thoughts you want to hold on to, what thoughts you want to ruminate on, and what thoughts then become a part of you through constant rumination. Then they create a new power of emotions, and then those power of emotions will eventually create actual physical gross actions, which will then create gross objects, results, consequences in this world. So the choice, the Porush, the free will we have is of the thoughts we choose to hold on to and the thoughts we choose to ruminate upon. That is the Porush. And exercise of this Porush, exercise of this free will is what will free the Jivatma from the consequences of its actions. Because it has the free will to do karma yoga or not do karma yoga, right? So when you do karma yoga and you do bhakti yoga, you have the free choice. With that free choice, you exercise karma yoga, you exercise bhakti yoga, make your vessel clean enough to become eligible for gyan. You receive the gyan and then you become the gyan. And so that's when Jivatma becomes Paramatma and hence is able to free itself from the clutches of the consequences of actions. Does that make sense? Make sense? The next one. Visalakshi, you want to read with us?
Connection. Phenomenal nature is the perishable entity and its experiencer, the individualized self, is imperishable. The one transcending the both of them is the supreme self, superior entity.
Yasmaksharam atitoham.
Asmat sharam
Yasmaksharam atitoham.
Asmat sharam ati yogam.
Sharadapi chottamaha.
Sharadapi tokshamaha.
Atosmi loke vede.
Atvashmilu ke vede.
Cha pratitha purushottamaha.
Jopati, sorry.
Cha pratitha purushottamaha.
Jopratita tat purushottamaha. As I transcend the perishable and I am even superior to the imperishable. As such, the world and the Vedas call me the supreme entity. Supreme self is the superior entity, the domain of inside object born of the actions and interactions of the three gunas is perishable. The supreme self transcends this domain. The experiencer of the phenomena occurring in the domain is the individualized self, and being a part of the supreme self, it is the imperishable and sentient. But it is the position in insentient nature in the same way as the waves. though borne on the water of the ocean, or positioned in and shaped by the wind. For the reason the Supreme Self transcends the individualized self, and being superior to it is called Purushottama, or the superior entity in the world and the Vedas.
So, uh, the reflection here is, why is it important for us to know this? And if we if if we look at why he's talking about this now, right? Uh, it's because he wants us to know that whatever we go through in life, we can attach ourselves to him, who will always be unaffected by the delusion of Maya. As individualized souls, right? We have a subtle body and we are now deluded with Maya. What Bhagwanji is saying, me in my form of Purushottam, the supreme being, Brahman, he's saying I cannot be deluded. That's why surrender to me. Once you surrender to me, then I will take away your entire delusion. And that is why it is very important for us to understand this deeply. It's the only form of uh, energy, I would say, we can pray to, that will take us out of our permanent cycle of likes and dislikes and suffering and happiness and all of those things. Because no matter what happens, he will remain undiluted.
Yeah, that's exactly what's being said in this shloka. So he's now using the word Purushottam. So there is, now we have Kshara Purush, we have Akshar Purush, and then we have Purushottam. Uttam, sabse, the best of all the Purush. So those are the three words, right? Kshara Purush, Akshar Purush, and Purushottam. Kshetra, Kshetragya, Paramatma. Okay. And same thing, right? Like what we discovered in the last shloka. He's saying that why is he superior to even Akshara Purush? Because we are saying that Kshar and Akshar Purush are basically cut from the same fabric. They're made from the same cloth. They have the same characteristics, right? So why are we saying one entity is Purushottam? It is Uttam. It is better than even Kshara, Akshar Purush. Why are we saying that if they are cut from the same cloth? So the answer is that what I would have said, that Paramatma can never be deluded. But Akshar Purush, because it is bound to the three gunas, it can be deluded. Right? And because it is being deluded and it is under the influence of the three gunas, it is bound by time and space. And all the consequent rules around it. Paramatma is not bound by time or space. Get the difference? So that's what he's basically talking about. That he's just explaining to us that from a Gyan perspective, like I said, this is the last chapter where he's giving philosophy, he's giving Gyan, he's giving frameworks to understand the world. Okay. So the last two shlokas, he's just helping us understand that you've understood Maya, you've understood the Guna, you've understood the Kshetragya. So there is Jivatma. Now he's trying to explain to us what is this connection between Jivatma and Paramatma. And how are they same? How are they different? We've talked about how are they same a lot of times, right? We constantly said Bhagwan is inside of us now, right? We always said Paramatma is, Jivatma is part of Paramatma. Now he's explaining to us how and why they are different. And how does Jivatma then take those differences out and then become part of Paramatma? How does it relieve itself of those shackles? But for that, you need to understand what is the similarity, what is the difference, right? So he's giving us that understanding here. Clear? Yeah. क्या कहो?
Sorry, I can't raise my hand. Tuvina, so like if you are in Rajogun or you do things in Rajogun Bhav, is that is when you kind of attach, you become Akshar Purush, your soul is that, like that is, and then how do you move to aligning with the Paramatma? Then you drop that expectation, or also like with one example, will you like, suppose in workspace, how do you like handle from being Akshar Purush to going to the Paramatma stage in your day-to-day life?
When you are doing action, now that action can be done, like we read that there is always one guna that is in the ascendancy, and the
Yeah.
other gunas are subservient to that guna. If Rajogun is the driving force behind your taking action, then it is natural that you will have expectations from people around you. You will have expectations of certain results, and you will be attached to certain types of results accruing to you. Right? And if those results do not accrue, then it creates irritation, it creates annoyance, it creates anger, it creates a blame game. You try and find other people to blame, even when sometimes it's just yourself, right? You're just blaming yourself, but you are in that space of blaming, upset, and anger. If you do achieve the outcome, then you feel elated and happy, and you're like, wow, I got this done, right? So this is Rajogun in ascendancy. When Rajogun is in ascendancy, you cannot be close to Paramatma, because we've understood that Satogun is the closest gun to Paramatma, right? So if now on the other hand, you're doing an action, same action, but with Satogun and ascendancy, then there is no variation of your moods. Upset, anger, fear, anxiety, ये होगा नहीं होगा, मुझे मिलेगा नहीं मिलेगा, इसका result क्या होगा? You have none of those ups and downs, right? In Satogun, you're only focusing on the action itself. You're focusing on the road you are traveling rather than focusing on the end result of that road. You're doing, the only reason you are doing an action is because it is your duty to do so. It is your dharma to do so. Right? So which basically means that the from a Mahabharata, we started this whole Gita saying that this body is our Dharma Kshetra and Kurukshetra, right? There are two armies that are fighting it. There is Pandava army and the Kaurava army. Right? We read this in first chapter. And Pandava army is the one that wins because it is only directed by dharma. That they have only one goal. So if you have that one goal, then you know Krishna is on your side. If Krishna is on your side, then slowly what will happen? You suddenly don't become Paramatma. Right? But your Jivatma will, at every point of time that you're aligned with Krishna, every time you're fighting from the side of Pandava army, then you have that strength to slowly break down the bad habits, slowly open up the knots that are holding you down. One by one, those knots will open up and you will rise further up so that your Jivatma becomes one with Paramatma.
So,
Makes sense? That's the difference. You do the same action, but what is in, you need to figure out what guna is driving you and whether you are attached and hence not doing karma yoga. You're just doing karma, sakam karma. Or if you're in Satogun, then you're doing nishkam karma. If you're doing nishkam karma, you are opening up those.
all of these gunas, all of these actions that we do kapuli, all of this exists only at the bhav level with which we do the action. As we studied in chapter 13, any rajasic activity, action that we do, it starts from a desire. And that desire leads to either being fulfilled or unfulfilled. So it leads to either growth or greed. If it's fulfilled, you want more. If it's not fulfilled, you're upset. That's Rajagun. So the moment you feel these emotions, then you know for a fact that the action was actually filled with Rajaguni Bhav. Because I did not get my result with my child or with my job, and I'm upset about it. In Satogun, as we have discussed earlier in the next chapter 2, we started talking about this, is there are 4 stages to any action: purpose, bhav, action, result.
Okay.
In any activity that you do, first you have to align on purpose. Why am I doing this? Am I doing this to fulfill a desire, or am I doing it with the intent of Lok Sangra? And the second is, okay, I'm doing it with the intent of Lok Sangra and Seva. Then what is my bhav, that of Seva, or is my bhav that of, "Arey yaar, these guys just put more work on my plate because I'm nice and I don't know how to sing it." Right? So those are the two things. And in life, there is never clear compartments. So you could be in Satugun with purpose and bhav, but you may still experience anxiety, nervousness, irritation, because we are not at the pure level yet. All our Satuguni is sometimes a mask for our Rajuguni bhav. Bhagwan ji, ye main aapke liye kar rahi hu. But why is my son not talking to me properly? How could he say this to me? How could he back answer me? Bhagwan ji, I'm doing this for you, but I didn't get promotion. What is this, Bhagwan ji? I did it for you. So this is where there are lots of subtle layers in our thoughts, and we're not authentic yet. And the only way we become authentic is what you are doing, is find an activity in which you are feeling these emotions and going back to its purpose and the bhav with which you want to conduct yourself. All of Gita exists only at bhav. That's it. Action will happen. If not you, there will be another body that will come and do that action. But all of Gita exists only at the bhav level. That's where our awareness needs to lie. Bhav and purpose. And that's how you move from Rajagun to Satagun in every activity.
Thank you. Yeah.
Continue. Maybe Kapil will read.
Vanishu, will you read with us?
What happens when the Lord is realized to be transcendental to both the perishable and the imperishable entities in this manner? The Lord says,
Yo mamev sammudah
Yo mamevam sammudah
janati purushottamam
janati purushottamam
sa sarvavid bhajati mam
sa sarva vid bhajati mam
sarvabhavena bharata.
sarvabhavena bharata. O Bharat, one who, being free of delusion, realizes me as being Purushottam or the supreme entity in this manner, is all-knowing, and such a one worships me in every way. Worship of the Lord as Purushottam. Whoever realizes the Lord to be Purushottam or the supreme entity gets illumined with the blazing light of supreme awareness. That light dispels the darkness of the phenomenal world by conviction that the illusion of the world is like the illusion of a snake in a rope. Realizing that one's own being is a part of the Supreme Being, one is identified with the Supreme in the same manner in which water in a jug floating in the sea merges with the sea water when the jug gets broken. Freed from delusion in this manner, such a one becomes all-knowing. With comprehension, not limited to knowing the individual items of the phenomenal world, the realization dawns that all the different objects and phenomena are, in fact, parts of this universal awareness. Thus, an integral relationship is established with the entire cosmos, which becomes responsive to even the slightest pulsations of such a heart. After this, nothing remains for to be done except to worship the Lord with every word, with every action, and with every thought of the mind. Thus, the whole being becomes one in union with the Lord.
So, this is difficult for us to comprehend and understand. Maybe intellectually we can, but if we actually read books written by saints, all sorts of enlightened saints, self-realized saints, and if you, I mean, all of us have read those books. All of us have looked at their routine, and one thing that is common across all of them is they spend a good portion of their day first connected to Bhagwanji. 6, 7, 8 hours in meditation, even Om Swami, right? And because they now know Bhagwanji is real, everything in this world is like very, very unreal and transient for them. But they stay connected to Bhagwanji so that when they come into the world, all they do is his work. All they do and see is him all around them. And then they go back to what is real. And that is the eventual state of a self-realized person. Like in Om Swami's book, he talks about it. After he achieved self-realization and he walked down from the mountains, he talks about how even walking seemed like a effort. He had to sit back and go into meditation. And that's the energy and power of what we experience when we become one with Bhagwanji as a self-realized person. And then when that person interacts with the world, there is no question about the Maya. Everything in the world is just him. Only relationship that person has is one with God. Right? And that's what he's trying to highlight. Now, for us, we're not there yet, but we can start the opposite side. Can we start our relationship with the world by looking for God in every relationship? Even if it's a snake, can we see the purpose behind it? Can we see the rope behind it? Because it's an illusion. It's Maya.
Just wanted to add one quick thing. So when I go to ashram and stay with Swamiji and so on, so typically like how their lifestyle is, 90% of the time they are kind of like connected with the God, the 10% for the regular chores. So the speech is very meaningful. The thoughts are very clear, right? Like the way that only experience will be able to tell that. So most of the time they are spending with the Purushottama, right? Like the God himself. So that is when that's how they are actually doing it. Very limited time talking with remaining folks and chores and stuff, essentially.
I mean, that's what this sentence really highlights. After this, nothing remains for to be done except worship of the Lord with every word, every action, every thought of it. This is pure self-realization.
So the way once you have exercised your free will as a Jivatma to constantly be in yoga with Bhagwanji and you clarified yourself and you receive that gyan, what happens is that before you receive that gyan, essentially this Jivatma has decided that it is living within certain confines. Okay? It has said that I am this body. It has decided its own limitations. ये मेरा रूम है, ये मैंने वॉल्स बना दिया. वॉल्स किसने बनाई है? जीवात्मा ने बनाई है. कैसे बनाई है? अपने एक्शन से बनाई है. Right? So Jivatma has limited itself by creating the walls around it. These are my limits. Nobody has defined these limits except for the Jivatma himself. Jivatma decides its own limits and then says, this is where I will live inside this. The day he decides to free himself, slowly, he's built these walls. Slowly, he takes down brick by brick, it takes down this wall through Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. Right? Once the walls get torn down, then what happens? The air inside that room and air outside that room mix up. There is no difference. The space inside, the space outside, they mix up. There is no difference. That is exactly the experience of the Jivatma. Once it has taken those limitations down and it receives that Gyan, this Jivatma is no longer confined by one body. It now experiences itself as if it is present in every body and not just animate objects. It feels itself to permeate even the inanimate objects. So it is one with everything around it. And when you are one with everything around you, essentially you don't need to do anything. You really don't need to do anything. First of all, you don't have any desires. If there is something that comes from Bhagwanji that you need to do something, you just need to think about it. And the whole world is at your disposal. They will get it done. You don't have to work towards getting it done. This is what we think. The Jogini people in this world have been taught through habits, work hard to achieve the results. Because we are bound by this world, which is bound by consequences of actions, right? So input equal to output. You can output equal to input, whatever. It is like directly proportional to input, right? That's what we've been taught. But when Jivatma frees itself from the laws of this nature, then that law doesn't apply to it. And it doesn't have to subject itself to that law. We have to subject ourselves to that law as long as we are still under the influence of the three gunas. So that means aaj ki tarikh mein, I cannot say that, oh, I'll just think it and I'll become Paramatma. No, because I'm still under the influence of the gunas. So I still am bound by the rules of the nature. And so I have to put in all of that effort to get the result. If I have to become, I have to do my karma, I have to do the bhakti yoga. But the day my Jivatma becomes one with Paramatma through the Gyan, because I have managed to take down all of my walls around me, then that rule doesn't apply to me. Now I'm one with the rest of the nature. So the day I need to do something, I just need to think it. And then it gets created. Because that thought now permeates the whole nature, not just this one body. It permeates the entire nature. The kainat will come together to give you what you need. That is what it happens. You just need to think it, and the stuff comes around and it gets created and the results get created. You don't have to go and make that effort. The nature makes that effort to get it done. Right? But there is a condition, precondition to that happening, that you need to be one with Paramatma. Until then, we are bound by the laws of nature because we are bound by the three gunas. And Bhagwanji has also told us in 2 shlokas before, there's only one way. One tool he has given us to free the Jivatma from being bound to the consequences of its action and become Paramatma, which is free will. That's the tool. Free will to choose the actions, to choose the thoughts that we spend our time with. So choose what you listen to, choose what you speak, choose what you read, choose what you watch, choose who you spend your time with. Those are very, very important. Choose where you spend your time, what activities you spend your time. Those are the choices of free will that we need to make. Sanchita, you want to read this? Ritesh, are you there or is this dark? I don't understand. You're there, right?
He's in the background.
You're in the background because there's blur and there is darkness. So I'm not sure if you're there.
Only his subtle body is there.
The subtle body is there with us. Okay. Okay, Sanchita.
Describing this realization to be the most profound of all knowledge, the Lord says,
Iti guhyatamam shastram
Iti guhyatam mam shastram
idam muktam maya nagha
idam muktam maya nagaha
etad buddhva buddhimanasya
etad buddhva मानस्य
कृत्यश्च भारत
कृत्कृश्च कृत्कृ कृत् कृत्यश्च भारत. Thus ends the most profound doctrine which I have imparted, O sinless one. On realizing this, one becomes all knowing and fully accomplished. Realization of the Lord Purushottama, key to true perception. The Lord speaks of this teaching of his to be the most profound. The reason is that on imbibing this teaching, the exclusive power of the Lord is seen clearly as activating all the gross and subtle phenomena of the world. This awareness removes all delusion of the mind in the same manner in which the rising sun dispels the darkness of the night. Just as things surrounded in darkness are revealed in their clear perspective by the sunlight, similarly, all phenomena of the world are illumined by the light of awareness as being wrought by the merciful dispensation of the Lord who transcends them. Then the conviction takes firm root that this awareness was the aim of human life, which was to be achieved, and so nothing more remains to be accomplished thereafter.
So this is a beautiful shloka, right? And there are
Can you just close the shloka?
yeah, sure.
Just close the shloka. Om Tat Saditi Srimad Bhagavad Gitasu Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyaya Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjun Samvade Purushottam Yogo Nam Pancham Dasho Adhyayah. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Tat Sat.
So here there are a few things to look at, right? If you look at the literal translation, Bhagwanji calls Arjun O sinless one. He is now referred to not Arjun in his gross form. Sinless is the farmer. He's now referred to Arjun as the individualized self, the capital S self inside of Arjun. Right? The second part, we always think what is the way for us to get out of delusion? And we've discussed this in class and we've said, oh, it's knowledge. But knowledge alone doesn't work. Knowledge has to be translated into awareness. And out here, that's what it says. Awareness removes all delusion of the mind. In the same way, a rising sun dispels darkness. That is the power of awareness. And I think we've said this before also in class. Once you become aware, you cannot become unaware. Unless you choose then to consciously not pay attention to it.
Which is the Gandhari Buddhi.
Which is the Gandhari.
आंखों पे पट्टी बांध दो जबरदस्ती.
This is why awareness is being self-aware, being present, are very colloquially very important parts of our culture. No matter which race, no matter which geography you live in the world. Power of being now, power of being present, power of having self-awareness. Because once you become aware, then you will know there is no other journey in life apart from that one, which is self-realization. And that is the other part that the shloka highlights is fully accomplished. Fully accomplished means what? Self-realization. जो करने के लिए आए हैं, what we've come to do, we've done. For what we've gotten our chance for human form, we've fully accomplished it. That means it's self-realization. Yeah. Bhageshri, you have a question.
Yeah, so the only difference between the difference between Paramatma and Jivatma is that Jivatma, we are bounded by the consequences of our actions, and Paramatma is not. And is this the only difference, or is there anything? And then if I am part of the Supreme Self, what is stopping me from becoming him? Is it the qualities which I don't have it yet, or I have it inside of me but they are like covered under dust, or um like why am I already not him? Is it because of all the consequences, actions of all my past lifetimes and this birth and every birth? And what all is what all or the what are the differences?
So I'll answer your second question first. The reason why we are not him, or we're not fully self-realized yet, is because we are fully deluded still. We are fully deluded that I am this body, I am Abhinav, and I have family, and I have attachment, and I have relationships, and I have likes and dislikes, and I want to get a lot out of this world.
And this is linked to your first question. Saying what is the difference between Jivatma and Paramatma, right? The difference between Jivatma and Paramatma, like you said, it is that Jivatma is bound by the consequences of the actions, whereas Paramatma is not. Now, the colloquy to that, if you understand that well, then you will understand a lot of other factors. One, why is Jivatma bound in the first place by its actions? It is because Jivatma is under the influence of the three gunas, because it has assumed the three gunas and it does not control those three gunas. It is under the influence of those three gunas. And so it is deluded, like Abhinav said, it is deluded. So if it is deluded, it creates these boundaries around itself. Self-created boundaries. I am this. And these boundaries are what? These are boundaries of all our conceptions of who I am, my own self-image, who I am. I am this kind of a person. I'm a kind person. I'm an efficient person. I'm a kind mother. I'm a gentle human being. I'm a hard worker, right? I I create results. I'm an author. These are all concepts we have about ourselves. And we work very hard to live up to these
And project
concepts and these self-images, and we project them to the world. And if the world doesn't accept them through those self-images and doesn't treat me the way I think this self-image must be treated, we feel very upset. These self-images, these concepts are exactly the boundaries that Jivatma creates under the delusion of the three gunas.
But why am I deluded in the first place? That's how I was born. I don't know what happened before that. Why am I deluded?
You are deluded because you don't have the gyan. You don't have the gyan because your mind is not under the control of your intellect. You don't always do what you're supposed to do. You do a lot of things because you like to do certain things. That's all of us. We are like little unruly children. Anushthan karke dekh lo. Shalini Didi tells us the Anushthan karna hai. How many of us does that actually do that Anushthan? Even when we know it is good for us. How many of us try and use our own akkal and say, okay, no, or find reasons and justifications as to why we cannot do it? Right? We don't, because our mind is not under our control. The day our mind is under that control of that, you'll have no justifications. You'll be able to achieve exactly what you need to achieve. Because the mind is not under the control, our senses are not under the control, they constantly make us stray, and they make us do certain actions again and again under the likes and dislikes of the mind, and they create certain types of habits, and these habits and these actions create consequences that weigh us down. You know that helium balloon which is weighed down by those weights? Every habit, every thought we have about I am this kind of a person, or I am this role, or any attachments, right? Any fears, anxieties, all of these are the knots I have inside of me that binds the Jivatma to this world, to the gross nature, binds the Akshar Purush to the Kshar Purush. And this Akshar Purush then assumes the identity of because they are so closely bound, this Akshar Purush thinks I'm the Kshar Purush.
So
That is why we are deluded. And when we slowly take control of our mind, and then once we have got full control of our mind, what do we start to do? We start to open the knots. Even on the way towards achieving your discipline, you start to open smaller knots, right? Slowly. It's like today I have reached a point. Okay, now think about this. Okay, I'll tell you
no,
the.
so
Okay, can I just use this example? You start your life, you are full of energy as a child, and you're constantly running. ठीक है, energy जैसी खत्म हुई,
I don't know,
थोड़ा सा
but I found these results on search.
So you're constantly running, you're full of energy, you're all over the place, and you eat something, then you're always again on the energy. Okay. So if you continue that habit of yours, you will eventually become a very physically active and a very strong person, right? But along the way, we pick up bad habits through our likes and dislikes. I don't like to do this, I like to do that. And so slowly, a lot of us do not develop the habit of keeping our body clean. Physical activity, the right type of physical activity, the right type of food, right? And so slowly, we build up residues in our body. Correct? So you will see those different types of habits that we build out affect our gross body differently, which we see. Similarly, we accrue residues in our subtle body too. And that residue is what weighs us down.
so let me even does that make sense, Bhageshri?
Yeah.
Then I can do so.
Okay. So that is why I am not yet Paramatma. But the moment I keep opening those knots, that's the only thing that ties us down. And the point is that actually people who have completed, say, we are thinking about it from point of view of course, right? A person who's actually crossed 12, that person who's actually finished his schooling, tells us that at the end of that schooling, once he's realized the real aim of life, he's realized Paramatma. He tells us that after you realize Paramatma, you realize at that stage, you realize life में एक ही aim था, एक ही रीजन था इस जिंदगी को आने का, वो मैं आज समझ पा रहा हूं. Now that I have achieved self-realization, I can tell you that I have understood this was the only aim with which human life was given. This was the path I was supposed to walk on. Everything else is meaningless. The race we have towards wealth, towards fame, towards respect, towards love, everything that we are trying to scrounge for in this world, and those small races that we keep running and expending our energy on, those guys tell us these are useless activities. So if we, as children in class 1, class 2, class 3, class 5, we listen to him who has already passed that exam. He tells us, oh, you're running after this little quiz, you're running after that little test, you're running after that little competition. So you'll come first in that. Yeah, put your energy. If you put your energy into it, you'll obviously come first in that. But that is a distraction. It has come to you because it's supposed to teach you something. Learn from it, go down that route as much as you need to, and then come right back on this main path. Because that is the real goal. Don't get lost. Don't waste your energy going too far down. Know what is the use of that activity. Maybe you got exposed to, or you've been asked to participate in a quiz as a part of your curriculum. This you've been asked to participate in a quiz because there's something you need to learn through that process. Learn it and then come back. Don't lose yourself in now becoming the greatest quizzer of all times. It came to you for a reason. Learn, come back to the main path, and keep walking the main path. That's what Bhagwanji, all the people who are self-realized have told us. That is the main aim of life. And that is also what is being explained to us in this shloka. So this is the end of all gyan that he has to give us. And he has told us what is the hierarchy here very clearly. And why we are Jivatma as Jivatma, why are we deluded? And why are we not yet Purushottam? And what we need to do to get to Purushottam? And what happens once you go to Purushottam? All these questions will disappear and we'll have all the answers. Why was I born like this? Why was I deluded? Why is this the only aim of life? Are you really sure? What if you are wrong? What if I was supposed to actually take care of my family and then run after my job? And then I didn't do that and I did it for you. All those questions will disappear. Now, remember when I say all of this, Bhagwanji is not saying don't do your job, don't be a good mother, don't be. He's saying none of that. Don't go after money. He's not saying that. Arth, Kam, Moksha, everything is part of our lives, right? But he's saying go after that with the understanding that this is your main trunk of the road. This is the road you need to go on. This is your highway. You go on the little this thing, they are only there to take you forward on this main path. Don't forget that. When you are being a mother, when you're being a manager, you're being a coder, whatever you're doing in your life, right? Whatever you're doing in your life and whatever hundreds of millions of roles that you will assume along the way, all of this is to, you should have only one identity, seeker. I'm Arjun. I'm the seeker. Everything that I'm doing is as a part of me seeking my real identity. That's the only identity we should have at all times. Everything else is subsumed within it. And everything else that I do or achieve in my life is only to be achieved as long as it is taking me forward on this path. If it is not taking me forward on that path, then I need to let it go. बट मेरी पुरानी हैबिट्स क्या करेंगी, मुझे वापस खींचेंगी उनके लिए. इवन इफ आई नो कि यार मुझे जाना इधर है, ये हैबिट मुझे इधर लेके जा रही है. If I don't have any control, what will I do? I'll go down this path. But if I have control, because now my mind is no longer unruly and it's managed by a निश्चयात्मिका बुद्धि, it will tell me इधर छोड़ दो, रहने दो, इस तरफ जाओ, इस तरफ जाओ, इस तरफ जाओ, and slowly ये एक दिन टूट जाएगी. Then it will no longer pull me here. I will constantly go. But जब तक ये टूटेगा नहीं ना पूरा, तब तक I will keep getting pulled in. This is the path we need to go, and that's the way we should think about our life.
But then why are there so many distractions which you talked about, respect, love, fame, money? Why these unreal things? Why are there so many unreal things in this world or around us? Why not the simplest? I mean, not the simplest, but the real.
So none of these are actually distractions. These are all things that are required in our life. It's like saying, "Arey yaar, बार मेरा हाथ कट जाता है with the knife. Why do you have knife in the kitchen? Why can I not cook food without kitchen, without the knife?" The point is, Bhagwanji is given knife in the kitchen because you actually need it to cut and chop. And it's a tool which is very, very important. And he's told us how to use that tool as well. But
So-
we don't learn how to use that tool, and then we think it's a distraction. So none of this, by the way, is a distraction. It is all this Maya, this body that has been given to us, and the entire Maya, the entire VVGP, जिसमें हम entangle हो जाते हैं, that entire thing has been given to us for transcending this Maya only. That itself is to be used to transcend the Maya and to reach him. It is actually the only way. So it sounds counterintuitive, but that's the truth.
No, so
All VVGP, जिसमें हम entangle होते हैं, is the tool to actually, it is to be used for the
So-
purpose of transcending it only and to get to it.
take a step back. Bhageshri, what is the purpose of life?
To attain God.
No, forget that. Forget that definition. Any human being, person who doesn't read Gita, what is the purpose of life?
Happy, stay happy.
Being happy. So a person who doesn't have Gita and is born in this world, right? What does he spend his entire life doing?
To achieve happiness via all the means, whatever means are there.
Chase happiness. And when he puts in a lot of effort to chase happiness and he doesn't get it, what happens?
Anger and all those things.
Correct. So the animality in us has trained our body and our mind, our ego has trained ourselves to say, ki, hey, control things so that you're always happy. I'll study hard, I'll get good results, I'll be happy. My parents will be happy, I'll be happy. You've learned to control at a very young age. Children naturally manipulate parents. All of us have experienced this firsthand. Right? They try and control the situation to get what they want, to be happy. That is the goal of life. Every single of 8 billion of us is doing that. What Gita is saying is we are chasing happiness because we are chasing God. Because God in its pure form is Sat Chit Anand. We are actually chasing God. We just don't realize it. Because our ego says we are chasing happiness that we can control 24/7. Now, when we become bigger, our intellect becomes sharper. Our intellect is not the same as an 8-year-old child, correct? Similarly, an 8-year-old child's intellect is not the same as a 2-year-old child, correct? Now, as we grow into this world, our subtle body that is there is interacting with so many BVGPs that it is already taking form of its ego and its intellect and its likes and dislikes exactly the way it needs to be. And then when we grow, become a certain age, we're like, now it's time to unlearn because now struggles are coming. No matter me working very, very hard, which I did in school and I got 98% and my parents were happy, my boss is not giving me a promotion because politics are gaya beech mein, right? So now we realize the same formula doesn't work. So we start thinking, how do we be happy? Why is, as we grow older, there's so many responsibilities, there's so much stress. Even if there is nothing, we start losing our parents and our grandparents. And we're like, why? I can't control this anymore. Why is all this happening? That's when we look for ultimate knowledge. That's when we all turn towards Gita. That
The
is
fun
when we
part
all
is-
are chasing happiness. And what Gita says is all you need to do is become a better version of yourself every single day. Everything that comes to you, everything that comes to you is just a way for you to see, that's what my attachment is. That's it, my delusion that I have. Let me go back into Sataguru. Let me go back to purpose and power. Purpose and power.
Without this VVGP, without interactions with this VVGP, you will never know what you need to solve. So if you sit alone in a room all day long, तो आपको पता ही नहीं चलेगा. You think how you are very happy, you are a very calm person. So only when there is friction, कुछ होएगा आसपास, तब आपको समझ में आएगा, अच्छा मैं गुस्सा भी हो सकती हूँ, अच्छा मैं इतने mean words भी बोल सकती हूँ. So all that VVGP happens around us to show us कि we are not in touch with our deepest self. They come out symptomatically, causing us to create a self-inquiry. Why did I feel this way? Why did I do this? Why did I say this? What's going on inside of me? They become a way for us to learn ourselves. They become a way for us to be able to shine light inside of us in areas we never knew existed. Similar to how when everything is working fine in our body, आपको नहीं पता how many muscles are there. कहीं पे कुछ problem हो जाए, then you start to realize, oh, there are all these muscles, all these bones inside this part of me. You become extremely aware of that part of you that's hurting, right? Which otherwise you're completely unaware of this. Unaware. Except, so this VVGP has to always be looked at reverentially. ये तो भगवान जी ने प्रसाद दिया है, इसको हम अगर सही तरीके से ग्रहण करेंगे, we take it in properly, we ingest it properly with the energy, the Jataragni that Bhagwan ji only has given, right? And we assimilate it correctly, so we will be able to get rid of this malady of delusion. We are suffering from a disease of delusion. And Bhagwan ji is constantly serving us the medicine in the form of the VVGPs and by giving us the tools or like how you should take this medicine. This is the medicine, but how should you take it? Bukhar hai, doctor will give you paracetamol. That paracetamol is your VVGP. And then how to take it, that Karma Yoga, the Bhakti Yoga, the principles that he's telling us, tells us कि आपको 250 mg लेनी है कि 1000 mg लेनी है. If you don't have, so even if the medicine comes to you and you take 2000 mg, 4000 mg, what will happen? You will get sicker. So VVGP is to be taken like that. It's a medicine. It's the only way for me to get proper. If I don't have it, I won't get better. Yeah. We will close the class. We'll do closing shlokas and we'll do the takeaways now.
So my takeaway is just what you said, Tuhida, right now, which is it resonates that every BBGP is very important in this journey. There's a reason why we are having it, and when we get those BBGPs, what we need to ensure is maybe watch our thoughts around that, uh, make the right choices uh, to ensure that we are taking a step towards him, ensure that we are not coming from the space of ego in reacting to these BBGPs, and surrender completely to him. I think I'm going to take this away, like for every experience, these 4 things, which is kind of the crux of the last few classes and from the time we started the journey. And that sums up very well for me. It's not easy, but yes, and you are right when you say when you are working alone at home, you're doing all your puja part, your work, everything, you feel, oh, I'm there. And then suddenly one trigger from outside and the behavior completely changes. And that is what exactly you spoke about. And we are not there yet. Sometimes we feel, oh, this journey is helping me so much. I know I'm just there, and the triggers always show. No, I mean, maybe the rebound is faster, but the reactions are still the same. So it's a long haul ahead. Yes. So thank you.
Long haul, lekin acknowledge yourself for all the small wins you have, right? Acknowledge changes that are happening along the way, because wo ho hi rahe hain. There is no way that you will go on this journey and put effort into it and not see results. Because we are still bound by the laws of nature, right? जितना effort डालेंगे, जितना स्वाध्याय करेंगे, जितना तप करेंगे, the more तप we do, the more results we get. Because right now we are still bound by this nature. So if we are not seeing enough results, then we have to question how much tap am I putting in? Can I put in more tap? And what kind of tap? Right? So do the tap, you will see the results and acknowledge them so that you don't like it.
Tap is by way of doing lot of jap and swadhyay and attending more and more satsangs and reflecting on them. Is that tap, or tap is sacrificing a lot of, sometimes, you know, you want to do something, but you will not do because you're not making the right choice. Like, you don't go for a movie and you stay back at home and just do some more jap. Is that tap, or tap is doing your regular work but ensuring that you have also time to do your job, to go through the class contents and reflect on them so that you understand or progress?
Tap is whenever you have to go against your life instincts and you get control over your mind. That is tap. And it will come to you in different forms. Sometimes it is in the form of jap. You have to jap. You will not be able to do it all the time because VVGP will come in the way. That time doing jap is tap.
Okay. Yes.
You're getting upset with somebody because somebody said something, somebody did something, or did not do something. Controlling your behavior at that time is tap. You have to go for exercise, but you don't go for exercise, you don't feel like it. Aaj bahut lazy feel ho raha hai, but you still go for exercise. That is tap. You are somebody is saying something to you and you control your tongue. Vani ka tap.
So the right choices.
Ultimately, everything has to translate to action and behavioral level. ये सारी पूजा, सारा सत्संग, सारे क्लासेस सुनना, आप सब कुछ कर लो और उसके बाद भी आपका बिहेवियरल चेंज नहीं हुआ, आप में विनम्रता नहीं आई, यू आर नॉट, देयर इज नो ह्यूमिलिटी, देयर इज नो स्वीटनेस ऑफ योर टंग, तो कोई फायदा नहीं। बिकॉज आप पूरे समय भगवान के बच्चों का तो तिरस्कार कर रहे हो, then how will the mom get happy? right? You're very nice to the mom. You're speaking very nicely to her, but you are ill-treating all her kids. Do you think the mom will be happy with you and invite you back in her home? She won't. So that is what we need to remember. But you need to do all these other things so that they act as a constant reminder for you to bring these changes in your behavior. But real stuff happens in change of your actual behavior. And sometimes that actual behavior will be very far from puja, part and satsang. And sometimes it is that very action. क्योंकि वही ही करने का मन नहीं कर रहा है या फिर all other things are coming in the way. यही पूजा का टाइम है, आप भूखे नहीं सूगा. पूजा का टाइम है, उसी टाइम पे और चार हुआवे and I have no ability to control my VVGP. What am I feeling at that time? What am I doing? How? What are the choices I'm making? You get what I'm saying, right?
Can I go next then? So the biggest takeaway for me at the end was that how the only reality is God, and that is the ultimate goal, and every other purpose that I have, or if I find that is all transient and unreal, and to find on that path towards God realization, I might get diverted, but I have to find, as I've never mentioned, about finding God in everything which I'm connected with when it comes to the worldly things. So that bhakti mishrit karma yoga thing of the perfect balance of finding that, so that I keep coming back to that goal of connecting with God, so that I do all my duties as well, but finding God in it through it, so that I find a way to connect back to Him. So that is what I think.
May I go next? For me, my takeaway is as a Jivatma, I'm deluded, and only way to remove the delusion is to connect to the Paramatma, because who is not deluded at all, and who is above all the three gunas. And by doing that, he is the power of transformation. So by doing that, I would be with his grace, is the main thing for me to implement the Gita principles, and also to he's the alchemist. He's the kind of alchemist to transcend and remove my delusion. So that is the only way. So put more effort on connecting to him by seeing him around VBGP, and also doing the Swadhyaya, all those things. Like, whatever I could, like, in every situation, in every moment, how I can connect to the Bhagwanji is that is my free will, my effort.
Absolutely.
My takeaway is every situation, like every situation, the purpose and bhav should be like how the God is. We can feel every situation the God is within us. So a purpose and bhav should be in the from the morning to whatever we are doing day to day life. We have to feel the bhav, and then purpose should be in the right way. This is my takeaway.
Shall I go next? So ultimately, in this chapter, what my takeaway is that Sri Krishna is saying that everything is Him. So we have to transcend all our delusions by exercising our free will, and then ultimately, when you reach there, everything becomes worship, and by knowing that everything is God, whatever you do becomes worship. So to get there, the path is to learn from all your VVGP and try to see what emotions it brings out and where you can cleanse further. That's my takeaway. That's the process which goes on. That's about it. Thank you.
So my takeaway today is I need to consciously, understand, I'm aware of, all the attachments, the anxieties, fears I have. And, how am I able to untie these knots that I have in me? And, to become aware of every action that I do and see how I am able to untie that knot. I think that's a huge ask, and I need to keep going at it. So, what you said that, the first step is to be aware, because once you are aware, you cannot become unaware. So I think in every situation, see why am I doing it, or what is it, what is the reason for me to behave or act in such a way, and see how am I able to, do that and get away from doing, or how am I able to remove that? I think that is a task that I want to focus on, and for which, Svadhyay, Jap, do all the rituals that I have to do, and more than that, I think discipline is one of the key things. It's not like because I'm traveling, like today morning, I had a mind not to, because I'm traveling, I actually called Didi 10 minutes to the class and said, Ki, I'm thinking of not joining. And then Shoman was right there beside me and said, Ki, just get up, you're up, go and join. So I'm saying that, having that discipline, our mind always tells us, not to do things. It's the easiest way out. But I think to bring back focus and say, this is what I've committed to and this is what I need to do. I think that's a constant process that I need to, work on.
Amazing. Thank you for joining the class.
So mind का तो यही काम है, ये कभी भी change नहीं होगा. Mind will always try and find the path of least resistance. It's natural. And a lot of time that path of least resistance is the right thing to do also. But यहाँ पे intellect comes into play. The intellect has to decide this path of least resistance in this case is a good thing or not. Pani always flows the path of least resistance, right? It is nature. It will always flow down that route. But your intellect has to decide कि ये सही मांग रहा है mind या नहीं. अगर सही मांग रहा है तो दो, नहीं सही मांग रहा है तो मत. Right? And every time you are making that decision consciously with your intellect, you're making your intellect stronger, and you're teaching your mind who's the real master here. Slowly, it is going to stop fighting. पहले क्या होगा ना कि mind ने बोला, intellect ने कहा no, cannot. तो क्या होगा कि आपका mind is going to get very agitated. It will get very upset. You will feel like constantly अंदर से ऐसा लग रहा है करे ये सही नहीं लग रहा है. Your mind will be very agitated, and you'll feel that internally. धीरे, as your mind becomes more and more trained to take instruction from your intellect. कुछ चीजों में तो हम लोग already trained हैं. पढ़ाई लिखाई में अगर mind बोलेगा पढ़ना है, intellect बोलेगा पढ़ने का टाइम है, तो जाके बैठ के पढ़ लेंगे. All the good students at least. Similarly, people who are very good sportsmen, they become sportsmen because वो अपनी mind की नहीं सुनते, वो अपनी intellect की सुनते हैं. Wherever they, so we've all achieved certain things in our lives, in certain aspects of our lives, right? So उन aspects में mind is already trained to listen to intellect. But all other aspects of our lives, our mind is stronger than our intellect. And every time we reverse that, the mind starts to learn a new habit. And then at some point of time, right, it will start to, वो जो agitation है ना, वो खत्म हो जाएगी अंदर से आगे. Because mind stops questioning. Intellect ने बोला है चुपचाप करो. That agitation will stop. और जब तक वो agitation हो रही है, जब वो agitation हो और आप उसके लिए you are aware of it, just give it to भगवान जी, show it to भगवान जी. ये देखो, ये हो रहा है. But I leave it to you to handle this. That's it. Amazing.
So I'll go next. My takeaway is this thing when we talked about that we have to choose our thoughts that will determine what kind of actions which we will do as per our free will, and then that will determine our the consequences which we will face. So yeah, that is one thing. And the hierarchy where intellect controls the mind and mind controls the senses. We have to always bring in our intellect first mind will try to take over, but intellect is there, we have it, so we just need to use it. And I had this question about like last week only, whether why am I not him already? If I am his, if I am his Ansh, why am I already not him? What is the difference between me and him as of today, as of now? So yeah, I have answers to that questions. And though I knew why, because I have pride, I have expectations and all those things, but still there was why. So yeah, I think now it's clear.
No, it's a fantastic question to ask. I love, because when you ask these questions, it forces us also to become clearer in our thoughts, to be honest. And these are questions we have as well. When we read the Gita with Sam sitting alone, I'll have exactly similar questions. Because our nature is also that, no? Intellect has been trained to challenge and think out of the box. So naturally, for us to engage in that intellectually, we like it, right? So it's natural for us to have these questions.
Mine is like this time it's about uh, trying to get the build up and imagine how big the God is, right? Like more than how he is the one who has created all the space and stellar Bua and Swaha, right? Like, and how the supreme self is getting into a supreme entity, like Purushottama. So that is the way to imagine him. So when we try to probably it is one aspect, right? Like how big he is when we try to imagine, when we try to immerse ourselves into the thoughts, we will get humbled down and we will be able to um, connect better with the God. Lot of things I think is happening because of ego, pride, and other Maya that we are carrying ourselves, right? So if we have to crush it down and see his unlimited powers that he has shown, we haven't seen it fully. Whatever we could visualize and see or learn about it, it will take us to the next level. Is my thought.
Just that everyday wonder is so important, right? एक वो रोज हम लेकर आए हैं, रोज को ही देख लो, कितना सुंदर. Every single flower you look at and you think about, he made it. Could I have made it? The khushbu that he has created, the sunrise, the sunset, like how, like, if you just start wondering on everyday phenomena that we experience, the taste, the smells, the hava, the wonder of this body, how it works, how fragile that ecosystem is, and yet it works on a day-to-day basis. Just having that thought and that wonder itself is a brilliant way to like literally humble ourselves down कि हम लोग क्या समझते हैं अपने आप को और क्या है ये दुनिया, and how small we are compared to him. Absolutely fantastic thing, Richard. It's a very, very good way to humble ourselves down and to feel that reference to him and to feel the reality of him really hit you home. It's amazing. Thank you. So you do the
Closing
closing
shlokas,
shlokas?
Savita.
ॐ सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु, सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु, सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु, सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय, तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय, मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमेवाव पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ ॐ ॐ
Thank you for joining us, everyone. Narayan, Narayan, and have a lovely Ganesh Chaturthi celebrations.
Narayan.
Narayan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Narayan.